Thanks for joining us, and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Periodically, we'll bring you true stories of angelic encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. When we come back, we'll begin our next episode. Hello and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Today, Stan Johnson's going to talk about Suitcase Nukes. Now this is a very important broadcast and it's very lengthy, but I think it's important to get the information out there. He covers today dreams, visions, and prophecies in detail of these suitcase nukes that are here in America that he thinks could be going off pretty soon. So this warning for America is serious. Again, I think this is one of those podcasts that you may want to hang on to. But being that it is so lengthy, I have edited it down as much as I could. So let's get right into it. Here's Stan Johnson of the Prophecy Club talking of Suitcase Nukes.
Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is 31 Suitcase Nukes. Now, what I'm saying there is I've got 31 different dreams, visions, or actual intelligence pieces of information. 31 say that there are suitcase nukes here in America and that they will go off. One of them even says this must happen. But my attitude is not if I have anything to say about it. And I believe you and I do. So we're going to cover that. Okay, first of all, here's why this is coming up all of a sudden. Cobalt magnet is the code name for a dirty bomb drill happening now in Austin, Texas. It says we have been cooperating intel that says radicalized Islamic terror groups operating out of Afghanistan. That's a cover story. That is a lie. What we Christians call that is a lie. That is their patsy. So now we know who they're going to blame it on. In just a minute, I'm going to show you that I had a dream and the Lord told me that regardless of who they blame it on, actually the people behind it's going to be international bankers, or also known as the Khazari Mafia, the Deep State, the Moloch and Baal worshippers, those people. So this tells us that it's getting real close, and they're no longer saying that it might happen. They're actually openly admitting it. In this article and the next one I'll show you, openly admitting it that they have intelligence that these suitcase nukes are about to go off. And they're saying that they're going to be dirty. In other words, not just heat, but they're actually radioactive. But let's get to it. We're corroborating. We have corroborating intel that says radicalized and terrorist Islamic terror groups, that's who they're blaming it on, operating in Afghanistan are making their way to the USA by exploiting Western European escape routes for Ukrainian refugees fleeing the war. That's the cover story. There's a lie. They are building explosive vests containing either traditional kinetic explosives or a combination of explosives with augmentation of dirty bomb material such as cobalt-60. The upshot is that the United States is about to be hit with radioactive dirty bombs that will target major U.S. cities in an effort to spread mass panic and make these living areas uninhabitable. The economic disruptions that would follow such an event would be catastrophic. Remember, one of the headlines Leslie was told was catastrophe hits America. I don't think this is the catastrophe that she's talking about, but I do think it's a catastrophe. Now, here's further confirmed. Natural News says Cobalt Magnet is the code name for dirty bomb drills in Austin, Texas. New intel on radicalized terrorists, this is a lie again, I'm telling you it's a lie, okay? Radicalized terrorists who will combine cobalt-60 with explosive suicide vests. We have corroborating intel that says, so it goes on to basically say the same thing, same report. Now, so, yeah, it's two reports, but it's basically the same report. They're saying that they have corroborated intelligence that they're, that's a lie, okay? They're not bringing this in. It's been here since the early 80s, okay? I'll get to that. The upshot is that the United States is about to be hit with radioactive dirty bombs, which will target major U.S. cities in an effort to spread mass panic and make those living areas uninhabitable. Cobalt-60 has a half-life around 5.27 years, meaning its effect will last for about 53 years. Means one of these hit your city is dead for 53 years. Well, now we believe Jesus is coming back for 53 years, so essentially it ain't coming back to life. Any city that's hit with Cobalt-60 would be uninhabitable for many decades. Now, the reason I say 31, I'm not saying there are 31 suitcase nukes here. Actually, the intelligence tells us there's anywhere from 35 to 50 suitcase nukes here, secreted all across America, and it started back in the early 80s. Here's the story on it. Stanislav Lunev, when he came to speak at the Prophecy Club in November of 1998, and he's the highest-ranking Russian military officer ever to defect from Russia, he came to Prophecy Club and made a DVD called Russian Defector Warns America. You can order the DVD, the physical DVD, at Prophecy Club. What he's going to tell you is he was part of a team of people that was sent in by Russia when he was a Russian guy, and his job was to find places to hide these suitcase nukes. After he defected from Russia, he came to America. We got him as a speaker. I had a lunch with the guy, and he's a genuine guy, okay? Here's what he says. In this video, 50, quote, lost in Russia. They weren't lost, okay? The Moloch and Baal worshippers, probably the ones that paid for them to be made. Why? Because it is the Samson option. What's the Samson option? All right, so you remember that Samson was, they killed 1,000 people with the jawbone of an ass. They couldn't bind him. He was extremely strong. And they put his eyes out, because, anyways, skipping all the story, put his eyes out, and then they took him down into the temple of Dagon, which is the Moloch and Baal worshippers. Yes, it's a different god, but it's the same god, okay? Still Lucifer. And he pushed the temple pillars apart, causing the temple to fall down and kill all the prophets of Dagon. That's why they call it the Samson option. Okay, so in other words, they're saying if the people of the earth rise up to kill us again, we will destroy it. Just like they told Benjamin Fulford, we've ruled this planet for thousands of years, we'll destroy it rather than give it up. This is one of the ways they're threatening. So if you come after us, we will kill you. Maybe not all of you, but we will do our best to kill all of you. This is the Samson option. This is them. 50 lost in Russia suitcase nuclear bombs have been smuggled into the United States. How do you know that? Because I've got 30 other words in addition to this that are saying it. 31 dreams, visions, angel visits, and one piece of actual actionable intelligence. Then now, the second piece of information. May 5th, 2003, Michael Boldea, the grandson of Dmitri Dudman, had a dream in which the angel visited him and showed him suitcase nukes going off in California, Illinois, Michigan, Arizona, Washington State, Florida, and New York. He said, I saw the outline of states taking shape, and I saw small lights begin to flicker on and off in some of the states. These are the suitcase nukes going off. Now, based upon the way he describes it, apparently the goal was to set them all off the same day, all within 24 hours. So they start flickering all off. In other words, if you're watching from the heavens as you look down on the United States, it would appear these lights going off. I recognize California, Illinois, Michigan, Arizona, Washington State, Florida, and New York. The light was rhythmic, almost like a homing beacon, constant in its progression. I continued watching the lights going on and off, waiting for something else to happen. Nothing did. Finally, I said, I don't understand. Dmitri came to him in the dream and said, these are the places where those who were sent here long ago to bring fear and cause chaos have situated themselves. They lie in wait, planning and plotting destruction. They are as coiled serpents, looking forward to the hour when they'll be loosed upon this nation. But, if God's children pray once more, he will delay the season of sorrow that is yet to come. Now, the good news is, I believe that we've already prayed this away twice. I want to be able to believe that we're going to be able to pray it away until Jesus comes. But I can tell you what, if we don't pray, and this is what the angel just said to Coverstone here just this past month. If we don't pray, these things come. That's why the warnings are given us, so that we will pray. And now I specifically asked Michael when I had him on the Prophecy Club, I said, do you think that these were like Nagasaki big bombs, Hiroshima, or were these little small suitcase nukes? He said, I think they're little suitcase nukes from what I saw. Here's another one. This is the third one. It's called Eagle and Three Serpents. It was long. I'm just going to get right to the point of it. October 15, 2004. Michael had a dream. Suddenly the snake seemed out of nowhere. A brown snake lunged at the eagle and bit down on his left wing. The snake's strike was very quick and precise. The eagle reacted without delay, clawing and pecking at the snake, cutting deep wounds in its underbelly, trying to defend itself and ward off the serpent. Just as it seemed the eagle was winning the battle and the serpent was retreating, in other words, this is the second snake bite, now it's about to be the third snake bite, another serpent appeared, red and black diagonal stripes covering his body. Without hesitation, struck down on the eagle's right wing, biting down, refusing release. After a momentary tug of war, the serpent tore off flesh and feathers, leaving a large wound on the eagle's right wing. Now, what he's saying is the first attack was 9/11. The second attack, in my opinion, is the Suitcase Nukes. Now, here's the third and the final destruction of our nation. The second bite was much worse than the first, and for an instant the eagle was stunned. Then a serpent much larger than the previous two, made up of many colors or many nations, slithered toward the eagle, opened its jaws, lunged, taking the whole of the eagle's head in its mouth before biting down. This has been revealed to you that you may know that the first bite has been 9/11. The second is yet to come. The third will be its destruction. One thing I feel I need to share with you is that the second bite seemed to come from an unexpected place. I believe that that's Suitcase Nukes, and so does Michael Baldea. January 9, 2005, I prayed. I said, Lord, I'd like for you to show me the next 9/11 attack. And the video is available to watch at watchprophecyclub.com. I was shown that there's going to be a series of suitcase nuclear explosions all across America. Regardless of who they blame it on, the people behind it will be international bankers, and they would use sophisticated bombs, experts in several cities, with one hitting a regional bank, destroying the records and their backups, which will put billions of dollars into the hands of the international bankers, the Moloch and Baal worshippers, while throwing the U.S. economy into a free fall. Then 2005, remember, now those are dreams. Now let me show you, this is actionable intelligence here. 2005, former Congressman Kurt Weldon, Vice Chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, uncovered a plot to set explosions in 10 cities. When he couldn't get the authorities to act, he published the information in a book entitled Countdown to Terror. I've got a copy of it. The 10 cities were Valdez, Alaska, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Chicago, Miami, and Houston. That's why I'm asking people, join the Fast Gap team. Now, Chris Shepard, January 2020, had this experience. He said he heard the voice say, come up here. I want to show you something. Instantly, I was standing on a cloud. I walked over to the edge and looked down. Okay, Lord, I walked over. I looked down. I'm seeing the 48 continental states, Canada, Mexico, all covered with clouds lower than me. I said, this is cool, Lord. What am I to see? Pay attention and watch. I saw a mushroom cloud form over Seattle, then Los Angeles, Las Vegas. The Bible says in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. Listen to the cities. It's almost always the same cities. Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Dallas, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., then Miami. There were no planes, no missiles delivering these nukes. Then several smaller explosions in several other major cities went off all over. But small towns and country areas were not touched. I could feel the millions of souls died and their screams I won't soon forget. I never saw troops moving nor hear any warning sirens. In other words, there was no warning. All of a sudden, they just went off. After this, I saw America begin to quake. It split open like the Grand Canyon, but bigger. It split, now listen carefully, from the Great Lakes down the Ohio River to the Gulf of Mexico. That makes 13. 13 people have seen that same event. Gulf of Mexico, at this point, I realized what I was seeing and cried out for mercy. The voice said, this must happen. It cannot be stopped. Well, again, Not if I have anything to do with it. I pray every day, Lord, do not let those suitcase nukes go off. Do not let them go off in Jesus' name. And if you and I fast and pray, I don't care. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to pray that this does not come. The next scene seemed like the sometime past, but I'm not sure how long. Then I saw a massive tidal wave hit the East Coast. I saw the bottom half of the California break off and sink into the ocean. Quakes hit several areas. Again, this is the 13th person that's seen the same thing. Subs started to pop up on both coasts. I knew there was no rapture in the dream, and everyone was caught unaware. Then clouds rushed in and blocked my view, and I started to wake up. But I asked, when will this happen? And soon was all I heard.
We'll be right back after this message. Hello again, this is the Watchman. Please join us each week for an exciting and inspirational podcast dealing with angel encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. So tune in each week and share it with your friends. After all, they could use a little inspiration in their life, too. That's the Watchman on the Wall podcast, and now you can find us on YouTube. We return now to Stan Johnson, speaking of prophecies, dreams, and visions of suitcase nukes that could be going off here in America.
One of the brothers out there took some time and actually designed this map up to show what is going on here. If you want to look, take just a second and look at the different cities, and you might try to picture where you live on that map, if you live in that area, and that'll tell you probably what we're looking like. For example, he did not put in Lubbock. There's one we know that goes off in Lubbock. There's two go off, one in Fort Worth, one in Dallas, one in Houston. That's what we know of. And then if you look here, the Great Lakes, according to several prophecies, again now 13, will open up all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. When could that happen? Well, let me give you an example. I got to read this from my notes up here. February 2014, Prophet Ephraim Rodriguez was shown a vision that a large meteor will hit Mona Island, which is a deserted island just west of Puerto Rico, causing a tsunami 1,000 foot high at Puerto Rico, but it'll go from 200 to 400 foot high when it hits the east coast of the United States, going inland anywhere from 20 to 100 miles inland. It hits an earthquake fault running up the Mississippi River Valley to the Great Lakes, splitting America from the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, and much of the west coast from California all the way up into Alaska will fall into the ocean. Now, look at that map, and that's a very good reason why I'm asking you to become part of the Fast Gap team. Now, Nathan Leal, October 12, 2010. I was in the downtown area of an unknown large city, and I had a vision. I saw a newspaper vending machine that sold the USA Today newspaper. One of the lead stories was about Seattle, Washington, and the headline read, "Seattle Celebrates." The letters were huge across the page. The photo of downtown Seattle included a fireworks display. Is that hinting that it might be around the 4th of July? Well, now, wait. If you were a bad guy, if you wanted to really slap America right in the face, of all of the days of the year, when would you cause suitcase nukes to go off? On their Independence Day? Maybe. Included a fireworks display over the buildings of downtown Seattle. The photo turned into a movie. There was a sudden explosion. One of the buildings erupted into a ball of fire, smoke, ash, and debris. The plume rose as high as the tallest downtown building. That's about right for a suitcase nuke. It looks similar to the explosion that we saw in 9/11 on the World Trade Center towers. My vantage point then changed to the sky, looking down on the damage. There was debris and ash scattered throughout the downtown area. Suitcase nuke. There were many crushed cars with ash all over them. The damage seemed contained to one building. That would be a suitcase nuke. Pastor Massey, 7/24 of 2016. I dreamed someone was screaming, 'Remember you told us about these things,' coming referring to a nuclear explosion. I saw through my window a nuclear explosion. It was a large city-killing explosion. I saw a large mushroom cloud, and I felt the heat waves coming toward us. We thought we were going to the basement. We thought about going to the basement. I told my wife to lie down on the floor, and I laid down. It was exploding in the downtown. I went on the floor and felt like we were going home. I prayed, Lord, forgive us if we don't want to miss anything. Patty Travato. Now, this one would take me 30 minutes to read, and I have read several times over the process of the years, but I'll get right to the point of it. May 2004, and I met this lady. She came to one of our meetings. As a matter of fact, she had already sent me this dream. I'd already read it on the radio. She came to one of our crusades, and she said after she talked to me and met me at that crusade, that night she had the whole dream all over again. So you had it twice. That's confirming this dream is of God. In my dream, there had been a nuclear explosion in the Baltimore-Washington corridor. I had quickly grabbed clothes and a tent and money and a little food and stuffed them in our car, and we used the back roads to get out of Maryland. My daughter was in the car behind me with the rest of our kids. My husband was going to meet us at the campground. I was driving a familiar highway in Pennsylvania. We were going to a campsite near the Penn State College. The highway was jam-packed in both directions. Traffic had come to a total stop due to some small accidents. I got out of our car and climbed up past the boulders onto the trees to sit in the cool shade. It was a nice spring day. The highway maybe that's 4th of July. The highway was filled with people in panic trying to get to the mountains, while other people in the panic were leaving the mountains and traveling southeast. Everything was in a panic. 4 black helicopters came over the mountain range. They started buzzing up and down the road. 2 left to go south. 1 kept circling the area I was in, while the 4th got out a bullhorn. They announced to all of the people that martial law had taken effect and that we were traveling illegally. Everyone was required to return to their homes or face arrest and confiscation of their vehicles. We thought, how can we go back home? The lanes of traffic on the highway are not moving. A man in the southbound lane picked up a truck and started screaming back at the black helicopter. He incited others to throw rocks at it and even wanted people to turn over their vehicles to block the highway to stop people from going home. A military person dressed in black with dark gray appeared at the helicopter's door and shot the man and 2 others dead. We were told we would not be able to buy food anymore. All grocery markets were closed. The only people that were to report to work were emergency workers. Does that sound familiar? The gas stations were allowed to remain open to allow people to get home, and then no one was to leave. The scene changed. We were watching a TV news conference on how people were coping with grocery stores being closed for the last 3 weeks. Grocery stores closed for 3 weeks. You got 3 weeks worth of food? Better yet, you got a year's worth of food? josephskitchen.com. Headline: Russia puts nukes into special combat mode. This is now a DEFCON situation. China calls U.S., quote, the real danger in the world. The Russian Federation placed its strategic nuclear forces into special combat mode. This is February 27. Now, the point is, Russia's all hyped up for a war. How close are we? Vicky Goforth Parnell, January 8, 2022. Summarized dream. I saw a general say to another general, we have to keep Ukraine out of Russian control. The money and the gold that are hidden in the vaults below ground, we can't let Putin get this money. If he gets it, he'll have enough gold to win 3 wars. Is there really that much gold in these vaults? That is what the intel from NATO allies has told us. We cannot let this information gold get into the hands of the Russians. But that's not all. Whoever controls Ukraine controls a big supply of the world's uranium. With it, Russia will no longer, now here's the point, Russia will no longer be that no other nation would be able to control. In other words, she gets what Ukraine has and she's going to go. And that's what the prophecies say. Daniel chapter 7. She had a mouth, and I saw 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and I heard a voice say thus unto it, arise and devour much flesh. So what you'll see is Russia will probably, if this is the fulfillment of it, and I believe it is, Then we'll see Russia overcome 3 nations, but she doesn't stop until Armageddon, until Jesus stops her. Let's go on. The angel said, "The match has been lit and the wick ignited and burning down fast. Momentarily it would explode into a full-blown explosion. Your countdown has reached 0. This action today is the spark that begins the war." What war? World War III. This started on 2/22/2022, and it will not conclude until Armageddon. This morning I was awakened by a loud voice of a man saying, 0. Brace for impact, brace for impact, brace for impact. For what? Then I heard again, brace for impact, followed by, it has begun. April 14 to 30th, Coverstone. I dreamed I was watching a large passenger plane with an American flag on its tail wing. It began a slight normal descent with people on board through the windows appeared unafraid, reading magazines, listening through headphones, resting and sleeping. Suddenly the plane did a nosedive straight down. The people on board made no changes in their activity. Now this is the picture of America that was flying high. But because of her sin, she started doing a nosedive. And that nosedive, in my opinion, started somewhere in early 2021, I believe is the way we would say that. But no one made any changes. See, in all of this trouble over the last 2 years, we haven't seen the churches fill up. We haven't seen sports stadiums fill up with people giving their heart to Jesus. There's not been any spiritual changes in our nation at all. There's not been any repentance. The plane at the first, now I'm skipping a lot part of the dream. I'm going to go right to the point here. The plane at the first part of the dream dropped below the lowest clouds. I saw land patterns on the ground below. There was an explosion just above the plane. I believe that this is talking about Suitcase Nukes hitting America. And it lost all power. Suitcase Nuke go off, fries all the computer chips, all the electricity goes off, and it ain't coming back on probably in this lifetime. It lost all power. The first time the descent was directed by the pilot, but now the lights inside the plane went out, meaning all the lights go off, all the electricity go off. So, if you don't have your own form of electricity, you don't have electricity. But let me just say, we are working on a solution for that, and hopefully here in the next week or two, I'll be able to present that to you. The first time the descent was directed by the pilot, but now the lights inside the plane went out, meaning that this is, my opinion, their interpretation is, this is the Suitcase Nukes hitting America. People became aware now that their music had stopped. See, I think that's saying that right now, Americans are, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but they're fat and happy. In other words, they got everything they need, got a nice home, place to sleep, plenty of food, plenty of clean water. There's nothing going wrong. But one of these Suitcase Nukes go off, let alone some 35 of them go off all on the same day, and all of a sudden the music has stopped. I'm saying that the music has already stopped. A lot of people have already found their chair, and there's about to be a bunch of people left without a chair. People became aware that the music had stopped and the TVs were off, and they were looking at out the windows in shock. There was screaming and beating on the pilot's door in absolute panic. Then it went completely dark. That's what will happen in America. All the electricity all across the nation will all go out. As the plane was going straight down, the man I always see, in other words, the angel, said through the window and said, I told them to pray, but they did not. They need to take it seriously now. So that's the reason I have started the Fast Gap. That's the reason I'm asking you to join my Fast Gap. Fast Gap is praying for America. Now let's go to Elizabeth Murray. 2021. In this dream, I was at a mountain resort, and my bed rattled me awake. I went to the lobby and asked if I felt an earthquake. No one did or even cared. The receptionist whispered, saying there was an attack from inside the United States. The scene changed to later in the day. The city was locked in a panic, running to their cars, but electronically locked doors would not open on some of the cars, and none of the cars would start. I realized that an EMP blast had hit. I sensed it involved many cities, not just 7 or 8.
We'll be right back with more after this message. Please join us on the Watchman News Network. It's a video news presentation of relevant stories dealing with end-time topics. Just subscribe to the Watchman on the Wall podcast on YouTube, and you will instantly have access to our latest WNN report. That's the Watchman News Network, exclusively found on YouTube. We return now to part 3 of our podcast with Stan Johnson, speaking of Suitcase Nukes.
Dana Coverstone, 2020. This is only part of it. I saw long food lines. I saw people waiting for what seemed like hours, standing in line and not in cars throughout the nation. Not in cars? Why are they not in cars? Because Suitcase Nukes fried the computer chips, which, by the way, you can go to empshield.com and get yourself one of these. All you do is hook the red wire up to the red side of the battery, the black wire to the black side, and then the green to the body of the car. It's got a little peel off on the back. You stick that inside your car, hook that up. They got videos. Just go to empshield.com, put in promo code prophecy. That gets you a $50 discount, and it helps your prophecy club. But like the old saying says, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. In the land when no one's car starts and yours does, gives you a great advantage. So go to empshield.com. Make sure that you have one of those on every one of your cars. You can also get one for your house. Now let's go back to this. I saw people waiting for what seemed like hours, standing in line, not in cars, throughout the nation. I saw ships and ports on both the east and the west coast just sitting idle. This is 2020. This is before all of the big shipping pile-up has happened. I saw a headline that said, Baltic Dry Index is dead. It didn't get that bad, at least hadn't got that bad yet. It may still be on the way. I saw what looked like shopping malls had been converted into shelters and living quarters, like after the Hurricane Katrina and people sheltered in football stadiums. The businesses in those shopping malls were all shuttered. I saw people in cots. I saw food outreach. I saw people who were misplaced. This was not like a homeless shelter. This was like something really bad had happened in our nation. I continued to see shuttered properties, people in homes wearing coats. Why coats? Electricity's off. They don't have any form of heat in there. Wearing coats. They're all cold. No electricity. I saw people in homes wearing coats and closed curtains. That had been a consistent vision. People inside their homes looking out what's going on. When I look at the people looking out their curtains, I see more of this dark gray snow stuff on the road. What's that? That would be fallout. I mean, what does it take to show us that God is trying to warn us? Yes, we need to prepare. But yes, we also need to pray. It wasn't pure white snow like the first fresh snowfall. It was ash. I saw headlines reading nationwide outages plagued the Southwest. Another headline said Americans don't know who to blame for the darkness. I can tell you, it's the Moloch and Baal worshippers. These are the guys behind most of the evil on the planet. Problem is finding who they are. They're hidden. They never come out from under the rock. Some of the darkness stretched into Canada. It stretched into North Canada, but was not everywhere. I saw America with lights flickering. It was almost like the whole country outlining the United States of America, including Alaska and Hawaii. So they hit all 50 states. I saw vultures with food hanging out of the mouth. These vultures were heavy and fat with rotting food hanging out of the mouths. Why? Well, I'll tell you what happened. So the electricity goes off. About 24 hours later, the freezers reach room temperature. And so everybody has to gorge and eat what they have in the refrigerator and the freezer. And about another 24 hours, it's starting to rot. 2 or 3 days later, now it's rotten, they can't eat it. So you got to throw it out. And that's where these vultures are coming from. I saw a St. Louis arch. People standing under the arch, wearing expensive business suits. At their feet were large briefcases that reminded me of nuclear suitcases. At this time, Dana didn't even know that there were suitcases, nuclear suitcases in America. I talked to him, but God showed him something he didn't even know in the dream. Nuclear suitcases. Suddenly, all of their alarms went off. They grabbed their suitcases, jumped in their cars, and in my opinion, ran off to set them off. February 2013, Doug Metzger made a Prophecy Club DVD called Will You Survive America's Fall? Again, you can order the disc, prophecyclub.com, or watch instantly at watchprophecyclub.com, in which he reports he was shown a vision of suitcase nukes hitting Los Angeles, New York City, Las Vegas, Washington, D.C., Chicago, San Francisco, Houston, Seattle, Orlando, Dallas, Atlanta, and Denver. Charles Turner, 2020. I saw people robbing each other, breaking into each other's homes, stealing things from cars and street. People are stealing food, taking things from each other by force, willing to die for it. I said, what's going on? I heard a voice from above me say, bloodshed. I was shown more people shooting each other. Everyone was carrying guns in the street. There was no police anywhere to police this year or bring order. It was complete chaos. You believe that? There's many of them that have said that. I probably should count up how many people have seen that picture. There's a lot of them. Jason Meeks. In this dream, I was lifted up into the sky and saw an outline of the state of Texas. I saw 3 small nuclear detonations. One hit Dallas, one Fort Worth, and the other one Lubbock. After the explosions, I saw people walking. No cars on the road. Why? Because the cars won't start. They got hit with an EMP. People are walking to the cities for refuge or food, water, and the basics of life and safety for themselves and their families. In the cities were saved Christians mostly, or people who would at least listen to the gospel, even if they did not fully understand. All the people were helping each other and sharing the resources. The yet to be saved were not eager to share, but did so primarily for their safety and their own families so they could stay within the city. Midnight Cry. It will start the second half of 2022. I awoke with a dream that I'd had in the past, so he already had this dream before. I saw a beautiful sky, white clouds all over. Suddenly, the sky went black. Massive pandemonium, chaos, mayhem, dead bodies, blood all over. I heard the words, it will begin in the second half of 2022. And I just felt the anointing touch me as I said that. So, in my opinion, that's a confirmation. So take it for what it's worth. I believe that we've only got a short time. Well, I don't want to believe it happens July the 4th, but July is the 7th month. That would qualify to be the second half, wouldn't it? July the 4th? Now, I'm not saying it happens July the 4th. This guy's saying it happened second half. There's more. I said, Lord, I need a confirmation. The very next day, I got exactly the same dream, plus one. I heard again, it will happen. It will begin the second half of 2022. In the second dream, I saw a young man delivering newspapers. They left the newspapers in bags, and the paper boy would deliver them door to door. But instead of a newspaper, he began pulling out a machine gun and started killing everyone. It was representing civil war. In other words, the young man delivering the good news of the newspapers of the media now turned on his own country. This is what it's going to be like. People that used to be kind and helpful now are killing him. December 30, 21, the Lord gave me the same dream. Same one he'd given me on 26th and 27th, beautiful blue sky, clouds flips to become black mayhem, pandemonium, dead bodies. I heard again. It begins the second half of 2022. God has been very patient with us all day long as he's been stretching forth his hand to a stubborn and rebellious people, saying this is the way, walk in it, but America has chosen not to. Now, what is the it? Is it Dmitry Duduman's internal revolution? Is it massive arrests? Is it the SWIFT system being replaced with QFS? Is it the tsunami hitting the East Coast? Is it like the earthquake of the New Madrid fault? Is it 13 people? No, it's not 13. It's now 31 people that have seen the suitcase nukes. Is it the Russian bear growing stronger and angry? Or all of the above? Arrests lead to suitcase nukes. Dream starts out We stopped by an ATM machine to get some cash for a toll road. I put in my card, got $20, but I realized I didn't get enough. So I put the card in again and get another $20, but instantly the fee and the receipt had now gone up to $42 just for the ATM fee, which is usually $1 or $2. The transactions were within seconds of each other. So is it saying that the old SWIFT system that we've been used to since World War II goes away that fast? As we drove back home, we stopped at a major bank. The television screens were showing massive arrests. Alert went out on my cell phone that DJT was assuming control as the new president. I expected people would be rioting and looting, but they were happy, celebrating in the streets, almost like VJ Day in World War II. In the dream, a man came to me and started crying and saying how all these evil bosses had been arrested and rounded up, telling me he was now in charge of the bank. He was a Christian and had been praying for this for years. As the people took to the streets in victory and celebration, we joined in. We jumped on the back of a fire truck to catch a ride in the parade because the streets were so full you could not walk. Everything was amazing. Then I heard an explosion. A suitcase nuke had been detonated in the city. I didn't see it, but I saw the shockwave. We jumped off the truck, ran into the restaurant, jumped behind the bar for protection of the blast. But we were far enough away there was no mass nuclear effect, just broken windows and glasses like an earthquake. Then an alert came over my cell phone saying, nuclear emergency shelter in place. Angel to Michael Boldea, April 19, 2005. I'm going to end with a bit of encouragement. He said, I opened my eyes to see the man standing beside me, hands at his side, looking down at me, and I was not scared, for I'd seen this particular angel's what it is in my dreams many times. I sat up and waited for the man to speak. The Father has sent me to strengthen you, he began. You have said in your heart, I know what is to come, and do not fear it, but if it be your will, protect me, protect the one I love. In other words, his wife. Come, see, and be strengthened. The angel then extended his right hand, took his hand, and instantly we're on a high plateau that was very large in size. As I looked, my eyes began to adjust to the dusk. I realized we were not alone. A great army was standing at attention, all dressed for battle, swords in hand, each one glowing, it seemed, from within. There were rows upon rows of angels in armor in perfect formation. It was stunning to watch. I was speechless as I scanned the great army, extending as far as the eye could see. Suddenly, the man standing next to me gave an almost imperceptible nod, and the entire army ascended toward the heavens, like a million fireflies, and began to disperse, each one going his own way. Still too stunned to speak, I followed the lights with my eyes until I could see them no more. Before I could ask any questions, the man looked at me and smiled and said, They are the guardians. They are the protectors of the righteous. Soon, all will see the difference between the righteous and the wicked, between those of a pure heart and those in which darkness still resides. Soon it begins.
Hello again, this is the Watchman. Please join us on our new video channel called Encounters from Beyond the Veil. It's the same exciting content as our audio podcast, but in a shorter but yet a video format. Also, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our episodes. That's Encounters from Beyond the Veil, exclusively found on YouTube. Well, thanks again for listening, and if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. Any comments or suggestions you may have, you can send to the Watchman on the Wall 2020 at gmail.com. We encourage you to subscribe so you'll always be notified of our future episodes. Well, thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the Watchman on the Wall podcast.